Okay, it's recording. Today, we are going to learn about data science. Actually, it's a course I'm doing a NPTEL course, and I want to share the notes. As my handwriting is not good, as you can see, but I will dictate the things and try to discuss some things so that you get the better idea. Because I don't really like those YouTube videos that are produced by the NPTEL courses because they don't really they are too much tell you too much theory and don't really get the part, just get the main part and go away because nobody has enough time in these days, right? So let's start. Data science. So what is data science? It is a science of analyzing raw data using stats and ML techniques. So इट्स अ साइंस डेटा को अलग अलग एम एल टेक्निक्स और स्टैटिस्टिक्स के थ्रू उस रॉ डेटा को एग्जामाइन करना और उसके थ्रू इंसाइट्स निकालना, कुछ कंक्लूजन्स निकालना उस डेटा के थ्रू, राइट? दैट इज़ कॉल्ड डेटा साइंस एंड इट इज़ यूज टू मेक बेटर बिजनेस डिसीजंस और टेस्ट मॉडल और even theories in mathematics, right? So what are the steps of data science? So there are 5 steps. Read data, get data into the system or programming platform wherever that you will not have. It is not compulsory that you will have the data all the time. So sometimes you have to gather data from different websites or maybe open source, right? So you will get data into your system, your programming platform. Then data processing and cleaning. Then you will clean the invalid data, or like if you talk about very basic check, data check, you will see that if you are collecting someone's phone number, and you will find that some slots are filled with like only 5 numbers instead of 10, right? So yeah, so that definitely there is something wrong there. So this not the valid data. So in data processing and cleaning, we sort of get the proper data that is really valuable and clean the invalid data that is not usable for us. Then we will summarize the data. Whatever data we got, we have to summarize in short things so that it's easy to run techniques and observe insights, right? Then comes the visualization part. So we will plot the data. We will try to plot the data statistics on the graphs and you know, various bar graphs, histograph, these kinds of things, so that it's easy to observe that data. When it's, as you know, visually you can better understand the data. Then comes the last part, derive insights from data. Then we will, so in the last part we will derive insights, like we will try to derive conclusions from our data, or after visualization what data we have left. And what are the advantages of data science? So it provides good ecosystem, right? Yeah, it provides good ecosystem of libraries. So these are not the advantages of data science, these are the advantages of Python in data science. So why should we use Python for data science? So first of all, Python provides good ecosystem of libraries that are robust and varied. So Python हमें बहुत तरह की libraries provide करता है. There are lots of libraries. And then tight net integration with big data frameworks like Hadoop, Spark, etc. So it's really easy to integrate big data frameworks in Python, like Hadoop and Spark. So it's not really necessary that you will get the small data. Sometimes in big corporates, when you are doing something big, then you will have a large amount or massive amount of data that is called big data. And we can easily integrate those types of big data frameworks in our Python. So, and Python also supports object oriented as well as structure and functional programming paradigms, and it is fast to prototype. Python also supports for reading files from local database and cloud. Okay, so you have to remember these advantages as it is very important. Then comes on the fact part. So 89% tool used for data science is open source, and 3% paid, and rest is custom made. So as you can see, majority of the data science tools are in Python are either open source or custom made, right? Then globally, 57% of developers use Python, and 15% are. Earlier, the people used to use R language more than the Python, but as the trend goes, like people started adopting Python, especially in India. So now 57% use globally Python, whereas in India 44% Python developers and 35% are developers for data science things, right? Yeah. So there are many editions of Python, like 1.0, 2.0, 3.0. The latest is 3.0, of course. So Python is developed by Guido van Rossum in the late 80s at National Research Institute for Mathematics and Computer Science at Netherlands. Okay, and remember this point because there are many high chances that this will come in paper. Okay, Python. So these are some features, or you can say characteristics about Python. Dynamic typing. So Python allows dynamic typing, which means runtime safe. The safety checks will be run. Type safety check. Wait. Okay, so you don't have to um, announce the data type beforehand. Instead, what will happen is in Python, runtime type safety checks are run. So, like during runtime, instead of compilation, during runtime, type safety like data type safety checks will be run, and it will interpret the like what is the data type of this, right? Reference count deallocates object which are not used for long. So reference count is a feature in Python which deallocates the object. It frees up the memory which are not used for long. So it makes Python more faster and more less memory consuming, right? Late binding methods are looked up by name during runtime. So as you might know about late binding, so methods are looked up जब भी रन टाइम पे मेथड्स जो हैं उनके नेम से वो होते हैं लुकड अप होते हैं. Python design is guided by 20 aphorisms as described in the Zen of Python by Tim Peters. So Python के डिज़ाइन जो है वो 20 aphorism, you can say 20 rules or whatever. So these का Python का जो डिज़ाइन है वो 20 aphorism से चलता है, और ये Zen of Python by Tim Peters इस बुक में मेंशन भी है. Okay, and now we will see about some Python interpreters. Standard C Python interpreter is managed by Python Software Foundation. Then we have other interpreters like JPython, Java, Iron, Python C hash, and Iron Python is for like C. Iron Python is for C hash, JPython for Java, and there's stackless Python, which is used for parallelism in C. Then we have PyPy, which is used for Python itself, JIT compilation, right? Standard library are written in Python itself, as you know, and Python is compatible with Windows, Linux, Mac, all three OS, and it also offers better error handling. It is highly supported by large community groups. As you might know, that Python's community is really big, and they time to time keep updating the code, or maybe discuss about the topic. So it's really huge community. You can ask for anything, and you will not face any problem, especially for that's why Python is good for beginners, as there are a lot of material and libraries already available in Python. Okay. Okay, Java is So we will now look into Python versus Java. What are the comparison? What are the differences between them? So Java is statically typed. As we previously discussed, like Python is dynamically typed. And so Java is statically typed is static compilation. It is also called static compilation, right? And type safety is checked during compilation. As you know, like in Python, type safety is checked during runtime. More time required in Java to code. So as you know, like as Java is statically compiled, so more time is required in compilation. Python is dynamically compiled. That's why it compensates for huge compilation time. So Python में compilation time इतना नहीं होता है as compared to Java, because Java में तुम type safety checks run कर रहे हो. Then comes the dynamic type here. Okay, so dynamically typed code tend to be less verbose, offering more readability. So Python में as dynamically typed होता code, so वो less verbose होगा और more readability provide करेगा as compared to Java. Let's look into some advantages of Python. It's a general advantage. Previously we discussed about the advantages which are good for in terms of Python data science, right? Now we are discussing about general advantages. So it is good for data science, of course. It is open source and community development. It's simple syntax, like Python syntax is really simple to understand and code. That's why it's beginner friendly. And it combines well with the majority of the cloud programs, cloud platform service providers like AWS, Oracle, right? So now comes coding environment. Let's talk about coding environment. So software program can be written in terminal, command prompt. Do you know about? Yeah, you would of course know about command prompt. Or either you can write code in IDE or text editor. So program saved in file with extent. Okay. So any software program can be written in term. Either you can write in terminal or command prompt, or you can use IDE like Visual Studio or Python, or maybe you can use text editor. Program saved in file, and normally in which file you have written the software program will be saved with the file extension to distinguish it from the other files. So like for Python it's .py. So if I make a program and name it as um, loop1. So loop1 will be saved in loop1.py. Then the computer will be able to recognize that it is a Python file. It's a Python code file. So we have Python. Let's talk about some versions. So we know Python 2.0. So its support was only till 2020, and for 3x like 3.0 I mean. So Python 3.0 is maintained from 3.6 post 2020, right? So it was also after 2020 its support was available. So let's ignore this and let's jump into IDE. So what does IDE consist of? So IDE consists of some 4 components. So first is source code editor, where you will write the code, right? Then comes the compiler, which will compile the code you have written. Then comes the debugger, where you can debug your code and find any mistakes and any bugs. Then comes the syntax and error highlighting. So this is an additional feature that comes in IDE. It's very optional, but yeah, majority of the code editor IDE comes with this feature. So whenever you write something wrong, not it is not according to the syntax of Python, or the language you are writing code in, so it will highlight the errors. Okay, so it also supports in executing and building. What is so? Let me explain what is IDE. I just told you the components. What is IDE actually? So IDE is a software program that helps you to that supports in executing and building and debug the program. So it will help you to write code easily, and also debug it. at the same time. So it's really, useful. Oh my. Now comes the spider. So spider is also an IDE, especially for Python. Let's we have it there, we have three IDE here for Python. Let's discuss them one by one, right? So first is spider. It is compatible with Linux, Macs and Windows, Mac OS and Windows. All three of Linux. It is open source and it can be installed separately or through Anaconda distribution. And development for Python is so it is spider is specially for development for Python, is used for development of Python and specifically for data science. So some of the features of spider are like code editor with robust syntax and error highlighting, and code completion and navigation. So it will try to complete your code and direct you, guide you in writing the code. It also offers the debugger. The last is integrated document. So yeah, these are the features of spider, characteristics of spider. And you just have to since the exam is um, MCQ based, then you don't have to, you know, learn every line by line. You just can learn the points and you are good to go. So yeah, and Spider interface is really similar to MATLAB or RStudio. Those who have used MATLAB and RStudio will would would find it similar or comfortable with Spider. Now comes the PyCharm. So it also supports Linux, Macs, and Mac OS and Windows. It also can be installed separately or Anaconda distribution. It also comes with a robust syntax and error highlighting, and it also offers code completion navigation, and it also offers debugger, as you know. So PyCharm is really powerful. It is open source as well as the paid version is also available, professional, and it also offers unit testing. So you can test your code in units, and then comes the version control. So PyCharm also offers version control in Python. So Jupyter Notebook. Okay, so this idea is not really for the development, if you ask me. It's more of a educational and presentation tool. Most of the teachers use this kind of tool. So what does it do? Okay, what does it do? It's a web application that allows creation and manipulation of document called notebook. So in this document is called notebook, and in this we can manipulate and create the cells in a notebook. So every cell is a line that contains code, right? Okay, so it also offers, it also compatible with Linux, Mac OS, and Windows. It is open source, Jupyter Notebook, and Jupyter Notebook can be installed separately or through Anaconda distributions. Okay, so Jupyter Notebook also supports Julia, Python, R, and Scala, if I'm pronouncing it right. So it consists of ordered collection of input and output cells. So it's kind of ordered lines, or you can say cells, ordered collection of input and output. So if you type the code, you can, I can write code, let's say 1 or 2, 3, 4 line, whichever, however I want. Then the output will be produced for those input lines, input cells. Okay, and just right below the input cells. It can contain code, cell can contain code, text, plot, etc. And this notebook, or document that has been made in Jupyter Notebook, can be shared through formats like PDF, HTML, which makes it really easier for the teachers to um, teach from it, right? And it lack most of the features of a good IDE. As you can see, like, it's more of a education presentation tool. but you can use it for development. I mean, any code for writing programs. It depends you, like what is the use or requirement of yours. So there are three way. Now we will talk about to how to open a directory. There are three ways to open a directory. First, you can click on the folder. I can choose folder, and second would be in terminal. You can go and write import OS, which will import the OS library. Then you can write os.chdr, which means like change directory, and then gives the directory path. Then it will it will change the directory. It will open that directory in the terminal. And either you can the last method is you can just go on the terminal and type cd and then the directory path, folder path. So you will directly enter to the require desirable directory. Now let's talk about how to create script file. You can I'm skipping this kind of part because it's not really understandable or useful for you to how to save a file, how to create a script file. It's pretty basic. You can just learn from any video. Okay, so let's talk about how to clear the output, populated console. So whenever you're writing code and testing it, running it, so sometimes happens like you write too much code and the your console is filled with all that output you have printed or whatever you did. So some you don't want that clutter. You want to keep your console say clean, right? So arranged. So you can just type percent clear on the terminal in the console, and it will clear the console. Or you can just place the cursor in the console and press Ctrl plus L. It is the shortcut for it. Now let's talk about deleting variables from environment. Okay, let's leave this part, and it's not really useful. Let's talk about basic libraries. So in Python there are many libraries available for different tasks, but the basic popular libraries are like NumPy, Pandas for data framework, Python, Matplotlib for visualization, and if you want to do machine learning, then you can use sklearn. Okay, so you can also access modules within the library. Like you just write import a numpy, it will import the library. Then if you want to see the contents, or you can say modules or sub libraries in the numpy, then you can just save the directory into the variable, the numpy directory into the variable. Then you can just print the directory. It will just print all the sub libraries or modules in the numpy on into the console. Or you can go to help and go in the object box and type numpy or any library you want to know about. It will just open the documentation of that library. Okay, let's talk about naming variables. So there are some rules you should follow to name a variable in Python. In every language there are naming some rules, but let's talk about Python. Okay, so in Python or in any language actually, variable should be short and descriptive. It should be meaningful. Like if I want to name a variable, I should make sure that anybody who's not coding or who's not done make that variable can just uh, uh, can know by reading that variable name that it is being used for this work or for this task. So this kind of descriptive names uh, uh, should be whatever. This kinds of names should be done, and your name of the variable shouldn't clash with inbuilt functions. So it shouldn't clash with like if I name the variable for or maybe if, then it will clash with the inbuilt functions or already pre-named variable pre-named functions. So I should make sure it's not clashing with any of that. It will give you error or may cause the program to behave as it should not. Then you shouldn't you can actually name one character variable in Python, but it is not advisable. You can do it, but it's not advisable as it is not descriptive. It doesn't tell you what is it, like what is it being used for or what does it contain, right? And the variable should be alphanumeric, means you can use alphabet or numbers to name a variable, but first letter should always be alphabet, or it can be underscore but not the number. It should not be a number, right? And both lower and uppercase are allowed in terms of alphabet. Okay, so any special character. So the only special character you can use to name a variable in Python is underscore. Except underscore, you can't use any other special characters. Okay. Let's talk about the naming convention. So first is camel. So it is very popular convention that is also used in JavaScript. So it is lower and upper. So that's how it looks like. The first word is all in lowercase. Then the first letter of the second word is in uppercase. Then others are in lowercase. So and you can also use like both uppercase like age and employee. So emp, so age ka a बड़ा है and emp का e बड़ा है, right? You can do this in camel. Then comes the snake convention. So in this you can write like this. Those two words are separated, or you can say are distinguished by underscore. Both in both cases we have used underscore. And either you can write both words start with the lowercase, or you can add you can use you can the first letter of the first word can be the uppercase, then all should be in lowercase. Then comes the Pascal. It is also popular as it is very simple. You just write two words, or if you're writing age or employee, then you just write the first letter of both words would be in capital and others would be in lowercase. Now let's talk about basic data types in Python. It is Boolean, which can be true or false. Then comes the integer. Okay. Then comes the integer. Then complex, which is consist of real and imaginary. Then comes the float, and then comes the string. I'm assuming you all know about these types of data types. String would be the anything that is enclosed in double quotes or single quotes. It's normally word or kind of alphabets, consist of alphabets, or maybe it consists of numbers. So float would be like some decimal number, like some point number. Like if I say 2.12, it's a float. But if I say 2, then it would be integer, right? So to verify data type of a variable, we can use like as you can see in example, we give the a variable value 2, then we type like a type parenthesis, or in that parenthesis we place a, and then we write like is int. So what is asking is what is the type type of a is int. So the program would reply either true or false. If it is an integer, then it will give you true. If it's not, then it will give you false. Now let's talk about conversion, coercing object to new data type. So it's kind of conversion of data type into some other data type. So this is the syntax, like you write the data type like int, int, Then in parentheses we place the object, like if I want to convert a, then I will place a in the parentheses. And changes can be stored in same variable. Either I can store this value in a, or I can store make a new variable and then store its value. Like see in example, h is equal to 15.12, it's a float. Then I make a new variable ht, and I write int parenthesis h. So now what I'm doing is I'm converting h variable, which is float, into integer and storing it in ht variable. So now if I type ht, I write type, and in parentheses I place ht, then it will give me the int. So it is telling me like the data type of ht is int. So our value would be 15, because as it converted from float to integer 15.12, it will convert into 15. Let's talk about hierarchical precedence. So we have parenthesis in the top. It's not operator, but it is normally preferred, as you might know about board mass. So it's kind of like that, but it has its own rule. So parenthesis would be the at the top in precedence of operator. Then the exponent, it is used for raised to the power. So if I say if I say 5 raised to the power 7, no, 5 raised to the power 2, so it would be 5 into 5, which would be 25. So that's how it works. So exponent, it would be preferred after parenthesis, then comes the division, then multiplication, then addition and subtraction are in both same precedence. Then comes the bitwise and I will come it back to it later. I will talk about it. I will tell you what is bitwise, what is relational, what is logical. So let's talk about first comparisonal operator. It is also called relational operators, and these normally have all same precedence, as you can see in the table. After bitwise and bitwise or, the relational operators are in the same precedence, all of them. Okay. Let's talk about logical operators. What are logical operators, right? So logical operators, there is or, and not. These three are three logical operators. So let's first understand or. Let's say we take an example: x is equal to 5, y is equal to 7. Now if I type like print x is greater than y, or x is bigger than y. So as you can see, I placed in this situation in parenthesis. So first this whatever in this parenthesis, bigger parenthesis, would be solved. So as you can see, x is greater than y. Is that true? No, it's not true. Then comes the x is shorter than y, right? So it's true, because y is 7 and x is 5, so it's true. So our logical or says that if any of this situation, either the left or the right situation, any of them is right, then I will give you true. If any of them is false, like it just gives you true or false, so any of them is false, so it doesn't matter, it will still give you true. But if both are true, then it will give true. If both are false, it will give you false, right? Now comes to the end. Now let's come to the end, logical and. So it is kind of opposite a little bit. So it works like, if x is greater, the same example, x is greater than y, it's false, right? And x is bigger than y, x is shorter than y, so it's true. So one of them is true, but and still gives us false. Why? Because and only gives you true when both of the situations are true. If any of them is wrong, it will give you false, just like or gives you true if any of them is true, right? Then now comes to the not, logical not. So if you write print not, and then in parentheses you write the statement x is equal to y, this is you double, as you can see, double is equal to. It means like you are you are telling like you are asking like x is x is equal to y. If there is a single equal to, then we will assign the value. But if there is double equal to, then it means we are asking whether x is equal to y or not. Then comes, so x is equal to y, no, this is false. So our output should be false, but it is showing true, because the not operator always gives the opposite value. So in this case we got the false as output. But since there was not operator, so it will convert it into true, right? So these codes are used in different kinds of programs. Right now you will be thinking like, what's the use of this? So yeah, as I as this is all relational operators are used in this. I mean some of them, like a double equal to, strictly less, strictly greater, strictly less. So these kinds of operators, these are called relational operators. We have then less than equal to, then greater than equal to, and except this we have not equal to. So if I ask x is not equal to, like it is as it is represented like this: x is not equal to, like apostrophe, then equal to, and y. If I ask you this, so it means we are asking x y के equal नहीं है ना. Then if it, yeah, it is true, actually x y के equal नहीं है, so it will give you true. Okay, that's how it works. Now comes at the last part, bitwise operator. It is kind of a little complex for a beginner, but just stick with me. So bitwise operator. So assume I just want to cover something before this. Okay, so as you know, like if I write x is equal to 5 or y is equal to 7, right? So this is the language that we are understanding. But in computer, the language is binary. Computer understands binary language. So 5 will not be stored as 5 in a computer. It will be stored in terms of 1 and 0. So if you want to represent, there are already rules that specify what number or alphabet should be stored in computer as what. So if I talk about 0, I want to store 0 in a computer, then it would be stored as 0. If 1, then it will be show as 1. But if I talk about 2, then it will be show about like just wait, it will be it's a 8-bit. I am assuming you know the basic how to represent any number in binary, but still. So 1 should be represented as 0 1, then 2 will be represented as 1 0, then 3 would be 1 1, and as we go like 4, then we can really represent in 2 digits 4, right? So we have used 1 0, we have used 0 1, we have used 0 0, we have used 1 1. Now 4, how will we represent 4? So we will to solve this problem, we the scientists at that time, whatever association is handling this thing, they come to the conclusion that they should use 8 bits. 8 bits matlab every bit represents 0 or 1 every slot, so there are 8 slots. This is how actually represented 0 is represented in the computer. Now the one part, it's same. So it's same as I told you in the 2-digit system. Then 1 0 1 1, and this goes on like same. So now the 4 part come like now if I want to represent 4, so it will be represented like this, 1 1 1 0 0. Okay, then 1 0 1 will be 5, and this goes on. Okay, so you have to learn about it. If you don't have a clue about this, you have to know how to represent any number in binary. Okay, now in bitwise operator, it works on the bits, on the binary code. So if I say we have bitwise or operator, we have two operators, bitwise or, bitwise and. So what happens is, let's say in this example I take x equal to 5, then y is equal to 7. So if I place this pipe symbol represents OR, and this AND symbol represents bitwise AND. So bitwise we have use X, bitwise or Y, which means that what will it do? See, 5 binary code is this 00000101, and this is how we represent 7 in binary code. 5 zeros, then 3 ones, right? So now what will do? It will make a new resultant, you know, it will give you the resultant binary code by mixing these two. So 00 first, okay, check तो 0 आ जाएगा. If ऐसी इसमें भी second में भी 00, okay, 0 लगा दो resultant में. Then third would be like this, fourth and fifth. So what happens is bitwise OR says if 0 and 0, if false and false, then I will give you false, right? Let's leave the false and true statement. If there is 0 and second one is also 0, then I will give you 0. As we see in the 5 first slots, in all 3 of the binary code there are zeros, so it will just copy the 0 from both of it, right? Then comes the 1. Like in 5 binary code you can see in the 6th slot there is 1, and in the 7th slot it is also 1. So our bit or says like okay, 1 1, I will also give you 1. But after coming to the 7th slot, so in fifth binary code of 5, it is showing 0, but in the 7th slot of 7 binary code it is showing 1. Now what will happen? Bitwise or will say I will give you 1 because I will give you 2. As you might remember in the OR statement in the back, like logical or any OR, whenever either of the situation is true, then it will be counted as true. So 1 here represents true and 0 represents false. So when we are encountered with a situation where we have 0, then we have 1. So OR will say if any of this situation is true, like here we have 1, which means true, so I will give you 1. If there is both 0, it will give you 0. False means 0. False. If there is both 1, that means both the situations are true, I will give you 2, right? Now here we have 1 and 1 in the last slot of both binary codes of 5 and 7. So in the resultant we also place 1. So we have this binary code as a resultant, and if we convert it to number, it is 7. So whenever we operate like X pipe or bitwise or Y, then it will give you 7 as output. And it is the same case at AND, as normally AND operates. Like if any of them is not true, then I will not give you true, I will give you false, right? It works like the same thing. And with this, your week 1 of NPTEL course is over. Thank you very much.